At the time when I was applying for the program, $1 was about 1,500 Nigerian naira. And so that should tell you the amount of discrepancy that I had coming into this program and moving to the United States. And at that time, I think my income was maybe my yearly income before tax was around maybe like 10 million naira, thereabouts, of 15 million. I don't even remember. But then I know that I could not pay for that program if I worked 10 years and didn't spend any money at all, like any of my salary at all. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be telling you guys how I paid for my Harvard master's degree. I'm hoping that this video is going to be helpful for anyone applying to a grad school program from a low middle income country, or anyone applying to a grad school program at all and wants to know like how the funding works, especially when you are coming from a country that has a weaker currency. I am from Nigeria, and so I will be telling you how I paid for my Harvard master's program. I did a master's program in education policy and analysis from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Yeah, so let's talk about money. And I feel like people don't like talking about money a lot. I don't know why. I've worked in finance my entire life, and money is still like a very dicey subject that most people don't like talking about. And I feel implored to give like a total breakdown to help anyone trying to navigate grad school, currently trying to figure out how to pay for their expenses. And someone also recently left a comment on one of my videos asking for how I paid for my funding. I had given an overview in my first ever video why you should apply to a top school on my funding and like all the other perks and benefits I got. But I want to also do another sit down video and like really give you guys a breakdown of like all like how I was able to fund my program and like my on campus jobs, how much I earned, everything. So let's get right into it. So my total cost of attendance was just under $100,000. It was about $99,000, and tuition and fees came to about $65,971. My living expenses were about $3,653, and there was an additional $320 for books, supplies, and travel, which I never got to use because I didn't buy any books or get any supplies or travel anywhere. So basically, haven't owes me money. I think I heard later on that $320 was optional or was something you could have waived, but I didn't know that on time. If not, I wouldn't have paid it. So I paid it. And then funding, this is how I covered it. So the only guaranteed funding I had going into my program was my HGSE grant, which was about $22,500. And that was something I had applied for. After you submit the application, you also have to submit an application for financial aid. You have to do that because if you don't do that, they don't consider you for financial aid. I know of like someone doing my program who didn't do that during admission and had some issues after because she wasn't able to get the funds. So you want to make sure you do that. They send you an email to do that. And so make sure you do that and get the funding up to $22,500. And that's the max that you can give, and I got the maximum amount. But after my first visa interview, I was denied my visa largely due to funding consent. I went back and wrote back to the financial aid office asking for more funding. This was an advice I got from one of my colleagues, another student from Nigeria who got admission to Ibrahim. And so he told me that maybe I should try and write to the school and see if they'll give me additional funding. And I was already at the point of like, I was already giving up. I'm going to have a different video about like my visa interview process and like what happened in my first interview and like how I was finally able to get a visa. But after that, after my denial, I am based on his advice. He even sent me a draft of what to like write to them. Big shout out to Ibrahim. That was very helpful. And then I went back and I applied and asked for additional support. And then I was awarded an impact award of $13,500, and that made my total funding from the school about $36,000. And then I also applied for and received an education loan of $25,000. The interest was about 7.5%. The loan was from the Harvard Federal Credit Union, which is like a credit union owned and organized by the school. The loan comes to like a monthly payment of about $300 for a 10-year term, but you can pay faster if you want to chip away at it more faster. And another good thing about the loan is that there's a 10-month grace period after graduation before repayment kick in and before you have to start making a monthly payment. And so I graduated May of 2025, and I made my first payment. So my first payment was due March of 2026, which was last month. And so I made 2 payments so far at the time of filming this video. I've got 240. So between the scholarship and the loan, I had about $61,000 in funding, and that went towards my tuition. My tuition was about 65,971. And that left the balance of 4,971, which was mostly my health insurance. And yeah, so we're going to go into health insurance next. Health insurance, the Harvard Health Insurance, which is my school health insurance. So Harvard Health Insurance runs about $5,000 for 2 semesters. Honestly, it sounds great on paper, but the one time I actually got it, because I really did not understand how health insurance worked in America, they have like a co-pay kind of system and deductible, and like I still don't really fully understand it now, being here over a year already, but basically, based on the health insurance type you get, your deductible means that you have to pay, like if you have a deductible of $500, for example, and you go to the hospital and the bill is $3,000, the insurance will cover $2,500 and you still have to pay $500 out of your money. And so the one time I actually got sick, I had like this migraine that wasn't going away for 2 weeks, and I was sent from the school's health center to Mount Auburn Hospital, which is the school's teaching hospital. And I waited 3 hours in the ER. I fell asleep waiting for the doctor. And then when I finally got to see a doctor, they gave me an injection for my headache I was having. I had only had like a really temporary relief, because I remember like a few hours after I left the hospital, my headache came back and I had to go get a migraine medicine from CVS. And then like a few weeks after, they sent me a bill to pay, and I still had to pay $100, which might not seem like a lot of money, but then I was a very broke student, and $100 was a lot of money for me, because apparently the full hospital bill for just that one injection was $2,000, and so the insurance was going to cover like the $2,000, the other part, and I had to pay $100. And so I can remember like being when I got the bill, I was like, I can't believe I have to pay $100, but yeah, that's how it works. And so I still had to pay $100, even though I still had to go get migraine medicine from CVS. And so in my second semester, I actually waived my school's health insurance and I switched to ISO, which is a cheaper plan. This is not a sponsored video, by the way. I'm just telling you guys what I did and what worked for me. ISO, I think it was $98 a month. It was roughly $600 for my entire second semester, and I paid that through my on-campus job. I know that ISO is not cheaper for everyone, because I know that I had like colleagues or classmates that were from African countries, but they were older, like in their 30s. I won't even say that's older, but I knew that their own insurance plan was more expensive. I was in my late 20s, and so I was able to get a cheaper plan. For some people, it's more expensive and they had to stick to the university's one. For me, I made the switch. And so how did I pay for my first semester health insurance? So my university had a payment plan where I could split the rest of my tuition and fees balance for a 4 payment period. So I did like a quarterly payment, and I was able to pay $600 was it quarterly? I don't know if it was quarterly, but it was like for 4 payments. I think it was every month or every 5 weeks, something like that. And so I was able to pay like $600. It was around $600. So I was able to pay that $600 on a quarter by quarter basis. Yeah, and so I wasn't really like, after my loan and the scholarship I had, I really didn't have much of tuition issues at all. It was just the health insurance fees, which I was able to cover gradually. The next thing to focus on was my living expenses, which was housing and food. Okay, so for housing, I lived on the university's off-campus housing on Beacon Street. It was a 3-bed, 2-bedroom apartment with 2 other students from my graduate school. Rent was $1,308 a month, and this was all inclusive, including utilities, including Wi-Fi, everything. You didn't have to pay any other thing, like for garbage or trash, nothing. And it was $1,308 for each person. So the entire apartment was almost $4,000 a month, and it was charged directly to my student account. So this apartment was more on the expensive side. I won't say expensive per se. I think for Cambridge and Boston, it was average, like that's what you get. But you can also get like really cheap apartment off campus, like farther away from campus. Because mine was off campus, but it was about 15 minutes. Like it was 15 minutes walk to my school, and it was even closer to like the Harvard Divinity School. It was like 5 minutes to Harvard Divinity School. That one was really right at our backyard. So like depending on the school you are in, it might be a much closer place to you. But I know some students were living outside of Cambridge, and because this apartment is like in Somerville, and so some students were living like outside of Cambridge, outside of Boston, and so they were able to get like cheaper apartment for like $800 or $700 or $900, whatever. But the good thing about this one, the school's apartment, was that your rent gets posted to your student account, and because it gets processed to your same account. Technically you can't pay rent or rent, but like you have some kind of grace, because what happens when you don't pay on time is that they put a hold on your account, and if you don't pay by the 15th of the month, they actually like send you like a warning, a serious warning email or something. But then you actually have like some kind of leeway, unlike when you have like a third party or you have your landlord. And then they also don't like do like credit checks, because it's a school's out and you're an international student. They don't have like credit check, a more flexible kind of arrangement in a way. But you do have to pay on time, especially during like course registration week, because a late payment puts a hold, not even a late payment, non-payment puts a hold on your account, and that's the last thing you want at the start of the semester. Like you literally can't register for your courses, or you can't even do anything. There's a hold on your account, so you want to get that paid and sorted, especially for the beginning of the semester. So the problem was on the practical side, like I said, but I got my visa approval late, and it was the last minute situation, and I wasn't able to get like any apartment from the lottery. So one of my roommates had her own bathroom, and then two of us shared. And so the other roommates that had their own bathroom gave us like a refund, a monthly $100 refund. And so that really made my apartment about $1,208 instead of $1,300, because I got the refund monthly. And so my total housing costs for the roughly 11-month period I stayed there was $13,288. I covered the first month from my personal savings, and everything after that came from my on-campus job. Let's talk about my on-campus jobs, which was my main income source. My primary job was an administrative assistant at the Harvard Physics Department. I loved that job. I got paid $21 per hour, and I was averaging about 14 hours a week. I really liked that job because I worked with really nice and kind people. So yeah, I worked with those people, and it was the kind of job where I was just helping out in their kitchen, or sometimes posting flyers, designing flyers, helping to upload on YouTube. It was a no-brainer kind of job, and that was a job that suited me at that point, because I didn't want to have to use anything that would tax my brain more. That school was already taxing my brain, and so I was not looking for like an accounting job or a finance job like I currently am in. I wasn't looking for anything that would make me be thinking for too long, because I'm already a student. I'm already like taxing my brain with all my assignments and projects and classes. And so I really wanted something that I could really do without that I didn't have to think much about. And this one, I spent a lot of time in their kitchen doing like platters and organizing like coffee, tea. They used to have a tea event every Monday, colloquium event, and I would do the tea and like arrange platters and all of that. But yeah, so I did that job. That was my main job, and it was $21 an hour, and of course I was a grad student. And so my other job was with Lehman Hall. I worked as a cashier for Harvard Dining Services at Lehman Hall, which is the main dining hall for the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. And so there were lots of PhD students, and many PhD students. You have a lot of master's program there. As a lot of PhD, sometimes I would see some people in the physics department, and then I would also see them there because that was also like the graduate school for the physics department, and it was just like funny. But yeah, and so those two jobs brought me to my 20-hour weekly limit for international students. And we know that international students, we can only work 20 hours a week doing school hours, and then once school closes, we can work 40 hours a week. And so when those departments closed, and like when I had more time to work, I picked up shifts with Harvard Athletics, and that one I was paid $15 an hour. And then another one was Harvard Coop, the game day sales team, and I was paid $20 an hour. I sold merch at the football game, the hockey game, and the basketball games. And did I do lacrosse? I don't think I ever did lacrosse. But I did lacrosse for Harvard Athletics. I also did field hockey. And because I'm a big sports person, newsflash, I really, really enjoyed working for Harvard Athletics and Harvard Coop, especially the ones where I got to see the game as I was working. Those are my favorite ones. And then I also worked with the Harvard Student Agency as a tour manager, and that was my highest paid job. I got paid $24 an hour for that job. And so I worked that job mainly during my winter break, because most people had left campus during winter break. The job involves you standing outside, and whether it's snowing or whether it's just sun, you're standing outside all year long. And so most people didn't want to do that. So I took up the shift because I needed the money. And so during the winter and spring break, when I could work up to 40 hours, I earned between $750 to maybe around $800 after tax and church givings and all of those things. And so It was mainly because of the 40 hours I could work. I didn't do January classes. There's a January term. I didn't do J term. And so I was able to work an extensive period in January. I was almost always tired, but my program was only 10 months, and so it really did fly by. And I can't say I worked 20 hours every single week. I tried to, but then again, I'm a student and my books are priority, and I really, really wanted to graduate with straight A's. I didn't want to have any form of yama yama B. I want to have yama yama B on my transcript, please. I have a reputation to hold. And so as much as like I needed the money and I wanted to work, I also was very focused in school, and I was also very involved. I started a student organization. I was president of the Harvard Boys School of Education African Student Organization. I was a co-chair of the Global Women Initiative. I was involved in as many things as possible, and so like I was always very busy. I was always very tired. And okay, let's talk about food. So for food, which is part of my living expenses, I was almost never hungry because I was working in the dining hall, and you can get food after your shift, and also working in the physics department, which meant I could also get food. They had an afternoon break every day, and even during school, when school closed, they had it twice a week, and they always had lunches, faculty lunches or something, and my boss was so kind and so nice. Allowed me to have food from there. So I was never hungry. And also they always have something happening on campus. I know the School of Education, we have a Thursday community gathering, and there's always snacks and food there. And even the Center for African Studies always had, sometimes they had jollof rice, they had Nigerian food. And there was also this WhatsApp group called Free Food Finder that track free food across campus. And so like, the food was not really a major concern for me. The few times I cooked was just maybe when I went to eat something Nigerian. I was craving like Nigerian stew or something. Then my internship, in my second semester, I did an unpaid off-campus internship through curricular practical training. And this doesn't actually count towards your 20-hour work limit. Mine was unpaid, and it was just for a few weeks. But if you can land a paid CPT internship, that's a great way to supplement your income. But just know that CPT has to be tied to a specific course and related to your field of study. So plan ahead. So it has to be based on the course you're doing. Like if you're doing the EPA program like I did in HGSE, you can't do CPT. But I know some programs like ELOE didn't allow CPT. Final thoughts. Every student situation is different. Some of my Nigerian classmates took out Empower loans, and not Nigerian, African classmates took out Empower loans, or just had full rides. My part was a mix of like grants, loan, and working multiple jobs, but it was doable. So if you're heading to Harvard this year, or a similar program, or just grad school, or just school in general, the key takeaways are to apply for every funding source available. Even if they've told you no, keep trying, keep applying, and pray, ask God for guidance, ask God to help you. Another thing is to get an on-campus job early. I want you to start applying before you even get your foot in the US. Reach out to alumni, reach out to current students, ask them for their current jobs that they do. If you can connect to their supervisor, you're an incoming student, get your foot in the market, the job market early. My main job didn't start until September and October. I remember I was applying to jobs every week in the month of August. I came into the US July 29th. And so you want to look out for jobs like that early, like target jobs like that early. And also use whatever temporary work you can find to bridge the gap while you wait. Like if you really want to get like a professional job in grad school, you don't want to work in the kitchen or be a cashier like I was. You want something that's brain taxing, something that you can apply that's like relevant to your career path. You should target that. But if you also really need money almost immediately, you can try to find temporary work while you wait for that to happen. That will happen. And don't be discouraged, but don't waste too much time. That's my point. Don't waste too much time. Find temporary work, and you can use that to bridge the gap while you wait. Yeah, I think that's all I have to share today. Hopefully today's video, I hope it doesn't end up being too long. But thank you guys so much for watching my video today. I'll show you guys my new pillow. After my last video, I didn't have a pillow. Look at me now. I know I got a couple of messages from some people that got admission this year. So happy for you. Congratulations. I know it's a really strange time. The immigration climate is crazy currently. I am even affected because Nigeria is on the list of the banned countries. But I hope you don't get discouraged. I hope you don't lose faith. I hope you continue to believe in yourself. And I hope you know your dreams are valid and they will come true eventually. This is a 3-part series of videos I'll be sharing. One is about my funding. The other will be about my visa interview and like what I face during my interview process. And then the final one is going to be about finding a job and some tips. I shared some right now in this video, but I'll go more into it in my other videos. So please check them out if they're out already. If not, please subscribe and like my videos and leave comments and share these videos with your friends. I really, really, really would appreciate if more people can see videos like this and learn from it. I make these videos because I didn't find any when I was applying, and I really want people to be able to have this information handy and to make decisions that will be very well informed. That was a lot. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.